Krishna. This is a video for distances to the planets, which is posted on Vedic Cosmology, Decoding the Fifth Canto, and Vedic Cosmology, Decoding the Fifth Canto of Srimad Bhagavatam sites. My spiritual master, ACBSP Swami Prabhupada, asked his disciples to study the fifth canto of Srimad Bhagavatam and try to understand the Vedic cosmology. So we're making some attempt to do that and give you some idea in this video of what we're working with. We begin with the shells that cover the universe. They are earth, water, fire, air, ether, mind, intelligence, and ego. I've not drawn them here in the way that they actually are because it would be impossible. They expand so much that it's not possible. The first layer is 10 billion miles wide, and the next one is 10 times that, and the next is 10 times that preceding one. And this continues, they continue expanding all the way out to the highest level shell, and beyond that is the causal ocean, where Mahavishnu is breathing out the universes. We can calculate the distance in this way. The first shell is 10 billion miles. The second is 10 times 10 billion. We can count up just the tens, and that's 36 of them. So 36 times 10 billion times 2, because the shell goes all the way around the universe, and times pi. This is formula for circumference. Then, of course, we have to add in the universe, which is 200 billion miles from center to the first shell, and that's times 2 times pi, and we add them together, and we get 2,274,509,081,000 miles circumference of the shell. This universe is said to be the smallest universe. Next we come to the Bhumandala. Now I've drawn the Bhumandala as flat. It's not actually flat. According to surya-candramasav, it is like an upside down bowl. And you'll notice that I have many stars drawn here. In between the earth, this earth, and this earth, called Bhumandala, and our earth planet, in between there are many millions of stars. All the stars, sun, moon, Mars, and these millions of stars here and the millions of stars everywhere, they're all circling in this universe like this. The information on the shells comes from chapter 5, text 38 and 42, also Srimad Bhagavatam 3rd canto, 26th chapter, 52nd verse. Then we have the Loka mountain, which extends from the bottom of the universe up to the top. Here there may be millions of planets. Whether the Loka mountain turns around the universe, I do not know. Then there is a crack in the universe, which extends all the way through the shells into the causal ocean. And from there, water is pouring through. That's called the Ganga, which is distributed all over the universe. That information about the Ganga we find in chapter 2 of the 5th canto. Now we want to, this is the primary focus of this video, is that we're going to try to show how mathematics, just like we calculated this, the Loka mountain also has a calculation. Bhumandala has calculation. Here is the golden land, surrounds Bhumandala, and then the Loka. And everything has a calculation, how many miles it extends. But the primary focus of this video is to show from an example of the sun how Vedic calculation is done. We are looking here from the side of the universe in. If we were to look from the top of the universe, from Dhruvaloka down, the universe would look more like this. Here we have Jambudvip, the central island of Bhumandala, and then an ocean, and another island, Plakshadvip, and an ocean, another island, Samalidvip, 7 islands, 7 oceans. So we'll end part 1 here, and we'll take this up in part 2. Hare Krishna, this is part 2. So we were describing that looking down from Dhruvaloka, we see the central island, Jambudvip, surrounded by oceans and islands, 7 islands and 7 oceans. And they extend out to the last island called Pushkara-dvip. Pushkara-dvip is described as the sitting place of Brahma. That is in chapter 5, text 29. So we can think that it's possible that Lord Brahma is born on this flower, which is actually a series of lands, oceans, and islands. We can calculate, because in 5th canto we're given the size of these oceans and islands, we can calculate them out to the center of Pushkara-dvip, which is where Manasatara mountain is running around, and that is described in chapter 6, text 13, chapter 5, text 30. Why is this important? Because the acharyas inform us that that is where the center of Manasatara mountain is the center of the distance from the Earth planet to the sun. That doesn't mean that the Earth is on Jambudvip, nor that the sun is directly on top of Manasatara mountain. The sun is above Manasatara mountain, and that indicates that the Earth is above Jambudvip. But we'll see that more as we go. First of all, let's calculate Jambudvip is 400,000 miles from its center to its outer boundary. So that we've indicated here 400,000. Its ocean is 800,000. The next island and ocean are 1,600,000 miles times 2, and so on and so forth. They expand just like the shells of the universe expand, so do the islands and oceans expand in size. And as they expand, it comes to 1,274,229,980 miles circumference around the last ocean. But Manasatara is running in the center of Puskar-dvīp, so we have to subtract the ocean, and we have to subtract half of Puskar-dvīp to find the center of Puskar-dvīp, and that gives us 791,681,348.4 miles. This information found in Chapter 6, Text 13, Chapter 5, Text 30. The Sweetwater Ocean around Puskar-dvīp is found in Chapter 5, Text 34. Now, so this distance is the distance from Earth planet to the Sun when the Sun is traveling around the Earth, crossing our equator. Similarly, it has 23.6 degrees south and 23.6 degrees north. In this way, as the Sun, this is the Sun here, is moving around the Earth, it causes day and night. As it moves up and down, it causes the seasons. The reason that I've placed it above Bhumandala is that the Sun is always shining on the top of Meru. That is stated in Chapter 6, Text 8 and 9. Similarly, the Sun is always shining down on the top of Bhumandala, the 4 cardinal directions where there are demigod settlements. So it must be above here, it must be above here. In order to create day and night on Earth, Earth must be here. This, of course, is Meru mountain, situated on Jambudvīp, where there are, again, 4 settlements of demigods living there. Next we come to, well, first, before we go on to that, let us show how we calculate the Sun. The numbers I've taken here, this is the number we just calculated, 791,681,348.7 miles. This is confirmed in Linga Purana. The next calculation we have is 864 million miles. So we get this figure from the Srimad Bhagavatam, which describes the sun's chariot as 28,800,000 miles long. But the acharyas and the Vedic system is to multiply chariot by 30, because there are 30 muhurtas in a day. That comes to 864 million. So that, we divide it by 2 and by pi, we get 137,509,870.8, and that is F to E here. We can find out the degree or declination of the planet by dividing 791 million by 864 million. It gives us a decimal point, which is called a cosine. And we can divide 137 million by the cosine, and that gives us A to E. So this is called a right triangle. And that's here, A to E, 150 million miles. That's farther away than any scientist says that the sun ever goes. But Matsya Purana tells us that the sun is absorbing water, drawing water from all over the universe. So it could be that the sun grows, and then as it moves back up, it expels the water. We see here that the sun moves closer to the earth in its northern ascent, and it moves further away in its southern descent. And by diagramming, we can know exactly where the sun is, distance of it from us at any time. What I've shown here is the moon. The moon moves 18.25 degrees, at least, sometimes more, as it's moving around the earth. And we can see by the diagram that although the moon is traditionally seen as closer than the sun, if we draw a line from here to here, sometimes the moon is further away than the sun. So we'll end here and take this up in part 3. Now we come to Dhruvaloka, which is at 90 degrees, or actually it's at 89 point something from Earth planet. And we have the 7 sages, which is the Big Dipper. It's about 60 degrees. Then we have Maharloka, which is about 61 degrees. And Tapaloka, about 65 degrees. Janaloka, about 80 degrees. And Brahmaloka, about 81.5 degrees. We come down to what is called, Vairagava Swami in his commentaries, an acharya in our line, calls the Bhumandala. The Bhumandala is found in chapter 9, text 6. Before we come to this, we also have the moon, sun, Mars, Jupiter, Saturn, and the constellations. So, in the Srimad Bhagavatam, chapter 9, text 5, we have what's called the antariksha, which means the sky above Bhumandala up to a certain point. And that point is, I believe, by mathematical calculation, to be Canine Majoris, which is situated in the constellations. It's a minor constellation. And that is in chapter 9, text 5. In chapter 9, text 4, we have Siddha Loka, Charana Loka, and Vidyadhara Loka. And I believe those to be situated in the middle of the constellations in Orion's belt, those three stars. In chapter 9, text 2, let's see. In chapter 9, text 1, Rahu is talked about, and it's said to be below the sun. We already said that the sun moves from low to high. So situated below the sun means somewhere within here, in this direction, in this vicinity. The Rahu is never more than 15.36 degrees. So it can be said to be below the sun, located between the sun and moon. Now there's the very next verse in chapter 9 is text 2, which explains the sizes of the sun and the moon and Rahu. But Madhvacharya, in his commentary, explains that sizes are not meant there. The size of the sun, the size of the moon, and the size of Rahu does not mean sizes of the planets. Those are calculations of Rahu. See, Rahu has a solar eclipse and a lunar eclipse and partial eclipse. Now we come to subterranean planets. You notice we've not calculated the Earth from Srimad Bhagavatam. That has to be calculated after you calculate everything else. Then you can figure out where the Earth is. So the Earth mentioned in Srimad Bhagavatam in chapter 9, text 6, is not this Earth planet. It's this Earth planet, Bhumandala. Then below Bhumandala, there are 7 planetary systems. They are Atala, Vitala, Sutala, Talatala, Mahatala, Rasatala, Palatala. Then there are the hellish planets. The subterranean planets are listed in chapter 9, text 7. In the hellish planets, chapter 11 and chapter 10, text 1. In the Garbhodaka ocean, where Vishnu lies, and the lotus grows from his navel. And this is the lotus. Here. And that is described in chapter 10, text 12. A description of Vishnu lying in the Garbhodaka ocean is given to us in chapter 10, text 4. So we should not falsely conclude that Vishnu is here. He has a planet here, Sveita Dvip, Where it is exactly, I don't know. And the Ganges goes to that planet first. But Vishnu has another form here. Vishnu has many forms. Bhagavad Gita, Arjuna was shown many forms of Vishnu around the universe. So that gives us an overview of everything. And in our next video, the final video of these four, we'll give a little explanation of mathematics. How we're coming to these conclusions, how we're getting the degrees of the planets. For example, I've drawn out the subterranean planets as being as big as Bhumanḍala, so I'll give my evidence for that. Hare Krishna. We've shown how the earth is not in the center of the universe. And that means that the earth being just a little out from center, creates what is called an ellipse. Now, this is very important for understanding all the planets in the universe, their timing and their distance. And also it's very important as we look at the sun. An ellipse means if you look down from the North Pole star, you would look and see that the center of the universe is not where the Earth is located. The Earth is located a little off-center, and that creates what's called an ellipse. Now, this is important because we have in the 5th canto, Srimad Bhagavatam, chapter 6, text 3, talks about the sun moving 3 different speeds. This is only possible if the sun is going from traveling a great distance, a shorter distance, and the most short distance. But nothing moves from fast to middle to slow. Everything has to gradually come to a middle. So when the Bhagavatam says that there are 3 speeds of the sun, it doesn't mean there's only 3. It means there's a fastest, a slowest, and a middle speed. And this is done by the sun moving in a spiral. So it has its greatest distance, but as it comes around, it's actually moving up the universe. And so when it comes back around on the other side, it's actually moved up and it's moved inward. So this is an exaggeration of how much inward it comes, but it would continue like this, spiraling up, and when it reached the topmost, it would start to spiral out again. Now, if we look at the side, if we look at things from the side, of the universe, we'll look at the sun. We would see that as it's spiraling up, coming around, this arrow pointing, coming this way, and then it comes back. See this arrow? So as it's moving upward, every day it would be at a different degree. The logic is that the greater distance the sun has to travel, the faster it has to travel. And when it gets up here to the highest point, it has to travel more slowly. So the sun has 3 different speeds. It actually has many different speeds. Now, the reason for this is that although the sun is traveling at different distances, it doesn't change its time. Every day the sun travels around us 360 degrees in 86,400 seconds. And that's the same every day. Therefore, we have, because the sun is, because the earth is located not in the center, but almost in center, so creating an ellipse, then as the sun is moving every year, it would cross the line of the Antarctic and the line of the equator and the line of the Arctic. It would pass them, it would cross them at different points every year, because the earth is not in the center. And so the sun is traveling in an ellipse around the earth. Therefore, by the sun crossing these points, and this is talked about in the Surya-Siddhanta, how the sun crosses a different point every year, and you can mark them off on a wall. But the point is that this gives an appearance that the earth is tilted. This tilt, this is how the modern science thinks. The earth is slanted like this, going around the sun, and they have a whole different arrangement. Not the sun is going around the earth, but the earth is going around the sun. And they think that the earth is tilted. But when we account for the spiral movement of the sun, its up and down movement, and the fact that it's traveling in an ellipse around Earth, then we don't have to tilt the Earth. So the Vedic cosmology is presenting a non-moving Earth aligned with Dhruvaloka, and in this way, what we're showing by our understanding of the sun, Srimad Bhagavatam, what we get is a stable Earth with the sun and the other planets moving around it without the tilting of the Earth as modern sciences do to account for the, I forget the name, the movement of the pole stars. Our reference from our Earth to the pole star is that after 2,600 years, I think it is, is it 26,000, that the pole stars change. But we'll show in the next video why that's not so, and we'll also go into mathematics, how to